I'm a guy that's 25. Lego Star Wars is my life. I like Ryan Johnson. I'm Rich Boy J. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back with another video, and this is going to be another episode of Your Questions Answered. If you're not familiar with the series, Your Questions Answered is a Q&A series that I do on this channel, so if you want to see one of your questions answered, leave it in the comment section below. Make sure it's Lego Star Wars or Lego Star Wars related, and then check back next week to see if you made the cut. The first question this week comes from Nico Bricks. He says, eventually you, Matt, David, Ryan, Tyler, etc. will get older. Do you think there will be another generation of Lego Star Wars YouTuber? There's always going to be new people. There's always going to be people who want to get involved with the community, which is awesome. Like, I empower any of you at any age to get into the community and start making videos, put out content, show people your love of Lego Star Wars. And so far as like a new generation of YouTubers kind of replacing us, I don't necessarily think so. Like, I think Jang Bricks is a pretty good example. He's been doing it for many years, and he's obviously, you know, not as young as any of us, but he's still probably the most recognizable Lego YouTuber. So I don't really see age being a factor that will significantly impact my channel. Lego is something that I will love pretty much until the day I die, and I don't see my age being something that will prevent me from wanting to show my love of Lego with other people. And I imagine if you ask any of those other guys, they probably would feel the same way. I, of course, you see the dynamic of my channel changing at some point. You know, as you get older, maybe your tastes, interests, those things could change, but I don't see Lego not being a part of my life anytime soon, and I don't see YouTube not being a part of my life anytime soon. Next question comes from Milan TM. He says, if there was to come a modular series for Star Wars, like with Hogwarts, what do you think would work best, apart from Starkiller Base, because that, of course, would be awesome? This is a great question. I love what Harry Potter is doing with Lego. The fact that they get basically at least one set every year that can combine to make a big, like, large-scale build insofar as the Hogwarts modular sets, I think that's awesome. I think Star Wars could absolutely benefit from doing something like that. However, it of course begs the question, what location would Lego realistically want to do where you could have, you know, a $100 set every year that would help add on to something? I think the Death Star is probably the one that seems the most obvious to me. A lot of the rooms in the Death Star are small, which would probably make things a little complicated in that regard. But if they wanted to do something like long-term, I feel like the Death Star is the most comprehensive Star Wars, most comprehensive single Star Wars location that's popular enough to get away with that. The Jedi Temple, of course, is another one that I think a lot of people would be happy with. There's so many different rooms you could do. You could, of course, do the library. That could be its own build. The actual council chambers could be its own build. There's tons of hallways throughout the temple that you could do. You could also do, like, the room where Anakin talks to Yoda in the dark. There are the pretty iconic stairs on the outside of the Jedi Temple, and you can even do a bunch of stuff from Clone Wars. I feel like Hoth could also be a really cool way for them to accomplish this. Like, Lego obviously has a vested interest in putting out Echo Base and Hoth sets. We get so many of them. And I think that Echo Base would make a really nice modular. You could make it basically in such a way where you just, maybe you don't even necessarily need to have like recognizable rooms. You could do like barracks and other base oriented things. But if it all came together to make one big just Lego Echo Base with, you know, a very nice sized door on the outside, I think that would work for a lot of people who just like Echo Base and want to build Hoth mocks. That seems to be one of the most popular mocks that people do. But also it would give Lego an opportunity to actually make a comprehensive Echo Base. With all the Echo Bases that Lego has attempted, you always are limited by the set size. You know, they still haven't done one that I think really justifies the size of Echo Base, especially with the Falcon that has to sit right in the middle of the base. So doing something like a modular series with it could allow you to be able to have a big Echo Base and also implement a few of Lego's vehicles into it. Next question comes from RoboNut03. He says, question, obviously most of your Lego designing is directed towards Starkiller, and you don't build much outside of that other than sets and other builders' vehicle mocks. What made you justify taking a step back from your normal building habits and designing and redesigning your Razor Crest, and why did you choose that ship as opposed to other pieces of Star Wars content? So the Razor Crest was one of the ships I saw, and I instantly knew I want to build that at some point whenever we, I guess, first saw it at Star Wars Celebration when they unveiled all the stuff for The Mandalorian last year. So at that point, I was like, okay, this is for sure something that I'm going to do. And then it just became a matter of when am I going to do it? And once the show kind of started approaching near, I figured, why not actually just have this thing ready to go for the premiere of the show? I thought that would just be a fun thing to do to get me excited for the show, and also be a cool thing for people who want to build the mock. Like, it would just be a very, very timely thing to do, and it ended up being a resounding success. I think it, by far at this point, is my most popular vehicle mock that other people have purchased the instructions for, so that worked out very well. As for the redesign, that was really just something that I just kept looking at my model, and I realized, like, okay, the show's over with. I've seen a lot more of it. I have so much more to work on, and there's so many things that I would want to change to make it be the version of the Razor Crest that I want it to be. And that was really what made me decide to just go ahead and fix that up and make it much better than the original version, having a lot more reference material. I think at that point, I was also maybe a little bit more confident in getting Starkiller Base accomplished in a reasonable amount of time. It was still relatively early on in that build process, so I didn't feel as pressured as I feel now to get the thing completed. And that with Starkiller Base, I'm very hesitant to take on new projects because I'm just super committed to finishing Starkiller Base. Like, that is my #1 goal right now. I really want to see this mock completed. It is such a huge undertaking, and it's getting there. Like, you can even see these sections behind me. I feel like every day I'm building something new and huge for it, but there are just so many things that go into this build that it is going to take some time, and I know a lot of people are anxious to see it. I'm anxious to see it completed as well, but it's going to take time, and that's fine, right? Like, you're supposed to enjoy the build process, but I just feel like I've done so much already, and I don't feel like I have that much more to go, right? Like, I feel like I can see the finish line at this point. I just need to just go ahead, keep working, and pumping out a lot of these sections, these big sections that I have to build. So I think now I would probably be less willing to go all in on a vehicle mock, but at the time when Mandalorian Season 1 was coming out, I didn't really feel that so much. I was very excited to go ahead and jump into the Razor Crest and really kind of take a break from working on Starkiller Base. Next question comes from Ben the Brick Lord. He says, what Lego set do you regret purchasing or selling? So I haven't sold any of my Lego sets. I pretty much keep everything. But as for what I regret purchasing, that's a good question. I've talked about this many times. The set that I regret getting the most as a child was the Ultimate Lightsaber Duel set. That was the first set that I got as a kid that made me realize not all Lego sets are awesome, which is heartbreaking, man. It's like your childhood going down the drain. Not really. But as an adult, a set that I actually regret buying, it's so hard to say. Like, even a bad set that I get usually will have good minifigures, so it's useful in that regard. I really can't think of any recent set that I bought. Like, I'm looking around that I just straight up regret buying. Like, I mean, I'm not a fan of the AAT design at all, but like the minifigures in it were good. The closest thing I can see to that would be maybe the Mandalorian Battle Pack. Like, fortunately, I only bought one, but I could see, like, if I really went all in and got like 3 or 4 of those, I would regret buying those, because that's a set, like, it was so popular when it first came out, and then people realized, oh, these guys aren't actually in the Mandalorian show, and it just became a very uninteresting set. Like, at this point, like, I never look at any of those figures anymore. That's a set, like, if it never existed, it would not make a difference to me. I was never a big fan of that set. So the Mandalorian Battle Pack might be the one that I feel like I kind of dodged a bullet and not going all in and buying more than one of them. Next question comes from Warsaw Build. He says, never build a Lego set again or never watch a Star Wars movie again. This is an interesting would you rather type of scenario, and I'd love to hear you guys' answer to this as well. Like, which of these would you choose? I think I would go with never build a Lego set again. As much as I love Lego, I've always said I'm a bigger Star Wars fan than I am a Lego fan. So if I had to give up one of them, I would give up Lego and then just find some other thing to collect with Star Wars. Like, I probably would just go more in on my Black Series collection. I'd probably get into model making and making scenery for those types of things, and like doing custom painted vehicles for those figures. It would be hard to give Lego up. Like, I love Lego so much, but I would probably just have to go with watching Star Wars films, because Star Wars films are gonna probably be coming out for the rest of my life, and it would really suck that if something really magical happened with Star Wars films moving forward, I just would have to miss out on it. I'm also assuming by this question you mean I don't get to build mocks either. Like, obviously, if I just could build mocks, like, and not build Lego sets, that would not make a big difference to me. Like, I don't really need to build Lego sets. But I'm assuming you just mean do nothing with Lego in regard to Star Wars. Final question comes from McAllister's Deli. He says, I heard you say on stream the other day that you didn't like Jedi Fallen Order. I thought it was great. Can you elaborate on why you weren't a fan? I feel like these YQAs are just going to devolve to me talking about why I don't like modern Star Wars video games. Okay, Fallen Order. That was, oh my god. So that was a game I was actually really excited for. I remember the day I went and bought it, I was so hyped to really sink into the game. It was the first, like, purely story-driven Star Wars game that we've gotten since Disney has taken over. So I was very fascinated by that aspect. Getting what I thought initially was going to be a story more closer to post Episode 3 than closer to pre-Episode 4. And that just totally wasn't the case. Like, playing the game, it honestly just felt like an episode of Rebels. You have your... Actually, so I will say this. If you have not played Fallen Order and you care to know anything that happens in the game, I'd say just skip ahead in this video, because there are going to be some spoilers in this part. So this is your spoiler warning. The game, it's like Rebels, right? You have your token protagonist who is, like, a Jedi, like, okay. You have your token mentor who was a Jedi also and is kind of teaching the protagonist certain things about being a Jedi, like, whatever. You have your weird alien pilot, and you basically have a crew of people who are trying to help out rebels and fight the Empire. Like, that story dynamic is just so uninteresting to me. Like, I just feel like we've seen so much of the Rebels at this point in canon in Star Wars. We've seen so much of the Empire. Like, the Empire as the main antagonist in any Star Wars medium right now just does not interest me whatsoever. Like, I've seen enough. Like, I saw enough of the Empire in the original trilogy. I saw enough of them in Rogue One. I saw enough of them in Solo. I saw enough of them in Rebels. I saw enough of them in The Mandalorian. I'm just so over seeing the Empire as the main antagonist in Star Wars. It's just so played out to me. The sequels, obviously, the First Order is the evolution of the Empire, but the First Order still feels more like its own thing. They're presented as more menacing than the Empire. Kylo Ren as a villain got more development than anyone in the Empire. Like, there's enough different going on there that I can, like, care about that more so. But just the entire dynamic of the Empire, like, it's just so played out to me. I'm so over it. And that was really the fatal flaw of the game for me. Just fighting the Empire again just did not interest me whatsoever in regards to the story. And then secondly, the story of the game, like, it's so just inconsequential, and I get it. Like, it's not gonna be consequential because you basically just make this Jedi, and it's like, oh yeah, like, this guy was totally around after Episode 3, right? Like, okay, whatever. But the story is basically like, there's this list of Force sensitives, and we need to basically find these kids before the Empire finds them, because the Empire's going to kill them, because the Empire wants to kill Jedi. I mean, at the end of the game, like, they get the list, and they're just kind of like, you know what? Like, we just shouldn't do that. We just shouldn't save these kids. It's really kind of like, we don't want to mess with their fate, essentially. That's not exactly what happens, but that's basically what happens. They basically get the list, and they're like, whatever, like, forget it, screw it. And I'm just like, well, okay, like, why did I play this game then? Like, it was just so... The ending of that game was just such a slap in the face. It's like, you get to the ending, and you're hoping for something, anything meaningful, and it's just nothing. It's just a whole bunch of nothing. It's so anticlimactic. Like, the game tries to be climactic and throw in Vader at the end of the game, which I also thought was silly. Like what is Star Wars now? Just, random story about a Jedi who you didn't know existed after Episode 3, and at the end, they're gonna deal with Vader. Like, you can't just keep throwing Vader in things and expect for that to make it interesting. I really did not care for Vader to be placed there. But overall, as a game, like, the gameplay was very difficult, and I'm not a huge gamer. Like, I play these Star Wars games primarily for the story. which wasn't a huge deal. Like, I just put it on easy mode by the end. But I found myself more so wanting to just get the game over with to see what happens in the story than actually enjoying the gameplay. That could be because I'm just not very good at games, and like that style of gameplay just didn't suit me. But I don't know. Like, I feel like any game, like if it's a good game, it's a good game, right? Like I would like KOTOR is one of my favorite games. I wouldn't say the gameplay there is super engaging. It's turn based. Like who wants to do that? But the story is so good that you can get over that, and um, it doesn't feel like such an obstacle to get past the gameplay to enjoy the story. The story will just help you breeze through that game and will make you want to play it more and more. Fallen Order, I just didn't feel that. I didn't feel much of a connection to the main character. I didn't feel interested in exploring any of the worlds. The story was just uninteresting to me. Fighting the Empire again was just so uninteresting to me. That game just really did nothing for me. And honestly, like I feel like I wasted my time playing it. I could have literally done anything else, and I probably would have enjoyed that more. But that's gonna finish up the video today. Let me know what you guys think about Fallen Order. I know a lot of people really like that game, and I mean that's fine, but it was not something that I enjoyed. But as that ends the video, like I said earlier, if you want to see one of your questions answered in this video, leave in the comment section below. Make sure it's Lego Star Wars or Lego Star Wars related, and then check back next week to see if you make the cut. If you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.